Hello and welcome to another edition of the Women's Rugby Pod. Rachael Burford is alongside me, Johnnie Hammond, and what a huge week for women's rugby. It's just coming at us everywhere, Burf.
Yeah, it's pretty epic, isn't it? There definitely feels a different feeling around the Six Nations this year and just what's coming. Really exciting week. I'm sure the players are absolutely buzzing to get going this weekend, as are the fans as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so we missed last week, one of those things. But don't worry, being such a massive week, we're coming at you not once but twice this week. We've got to reflect on news from Australia, Super Rugby Out Picky, Super W, news from Ireland Railway Union doing the double. And we're going to talk about all Six Nations about to kick off round one of the tournament. We're going to speak to Dr. Rachel Malcolm, the Scotland captain, Cheyenne Lillycrap, the Wales captain, Nicola Friday, the Ireland captain. From England, we've got Simon Middleton, Sarah Hunter, amongst others, Connie Powell as well. And from Italy, Giada Franco joins us from Parma. Unbelievable pod action coming at you. So in this first pod, Burf, we're going to concentrate on France, Italy and England. Before we go any further, let's give you the detail for the inaugural TikTok Women's Six Nations standalone in its own space. There's even A-boards around London town advertising the Women's Six Nations. Thank you, Fee Stockley, for that one. Scotland against England kicks us all off 12 o'clock on Saturday. Then it's over to Ireland for their visit of Wales at 4:45. And on Sunday, it's France against Italy from the Stade in Grenoble, 3 o'clock. So there we are. That's the opening round of fixtures. A little bit earlier on today, I was lucky enough to literally hang around like a bad penny at Bisham Abbey with the England squad, and I caught up with a few of the main protagonists: Simon Middleton, Sarah Hunter, Connie Powell and Vicki Cornborough. Joined by Simon Middleton, England head honcho here at Bisham Abbey. So first up, Six Nations week. Haven't played since the autumn. Is it nice just to get this year up and running, because you've got Six Nations, then obviously going into a couple of summer games and then obviously a World Cup? Is it nice just to get back out and know that you're playing come Saturday?
I mean, it's that bit where you have these lull periods between competitions where you come off the back of a competition, everybody's pretty exhausted, and you're glad of a couple of weeks and rest, and then you do the review process, and then you start getting itchy feet again, and then come competition time, you're back in camp and you're training again. It's great, and you remember what you love about it all, and then as the competition gets closer, the excitement gets higher, and everybody's buzzing at the moment. So this is it. Leading into Six Nations, it's exactly why everybody sort of turns up, plays rugby, and great competition we're looking forward to.
How difficult was it just to select this squad alone? Are you talking in the press the last few days, you could pick two, I'd make it probably even three squads from the players that play regularly in the Prem 15s. Just how difficult is it? How many paracetamol would you get through?
Yeah, quite a few, to be fair. We've got great strength in depth. Be honest, we've worked hard on it, and we've, by shuffling the pack quite a bit, that creates you additional strength in depth. Players who can play across. Our back five players are really, really versatile. Our front row players are really dynamic, and we've got good strength in depth with them as well. And we've got a similar sort of thing with our back three. We've got a very versatile squad. So not only have we've got good numbers, we've got players who we can mix and match a bit, and that's usually important in your squad. Because you want to, obviously you can only pick X amount into the squad, X amount onto the bench, and you need that. You don't know what's going to happen in a game, so you need those players to be able to be adaptable and cover across, and that'll be even more sort of prominent if it ends up being a 30-player squad in the World Cup, as opposed to potentially a 36-player squad. You need a couple of players. If you go 30, you need a couple of players in there who can mix and match.
You came in into that camp of the 2014 World Cup, bar one or two players, I think it's fairly safe to say that 15 pretty much selected itself for sort of 12, 18 months going into that World Cup. How important is it now for you, with 7 games to go, to get consistency, or is it about performance, making sure that the framework is there and then players can slot it in, or are you looking for those combinations now with the 7 games left?
I think I was quite open at the start in terms of the Six Nations. We've still got a bit of finding out to do, but we're getting towards the end of that process. But the first 3 games in particular, we're going to rotate the squad, and we're going to give people a real chance to put their hand up for probably the back end of the competition, where we're going to look for a bit more consistency in our selection, a bit more synergy, and that might be in the units, it might be right across the team. And the players are under no illusions. They know exactly what the score is. They're going to get an opportunity as long as they earn the opportunity in training. They'll get an opportunity in the first three games. If they go well, they'll be in the mix for the last 2. And it's that part where it'll be a bit of a balance between just doing a little bit more exploratory work in terms of some of the younger players who have come into the squad, and then
It's been hand-delivered a coffee by the England captain, Sarah Hunter. That's
how to court favour. Where's mine? You backed the wrong horse there.
I'm selecting you, don't worry.
Oh, brilliant. That's priceless. That's her all over. Fantastic. But yeah, we'll bit of a finding process at the start of the Six Nations, because we've still got some young kids who have just come in. I mean, that was the beauty of the World Cup getting moved for us by 12 months. Yeah. It's tough for a couple of players. I think it's going to be really good news for 3 or 4 others, and generally overall very good news for us in terms of gave us a chance to have another 12 months with Maud Muir. Could be an expert, could be the Sarah Byrne of this. Sarah was just sensational in 2017. Maud could be that, and there might be 1 or 2 who drop into that category as well. So it's it's still a bit of finding out to do, then a bit of synergising, and there's still plenty of work to do for the summer. We've got a massive summer ahead of us, and players will have to prove themselves in that as well. But we'll see.
Just a couple more, Simon, because I'm conscious of your time, despite being in a glorious sunshine. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's very nice here at Bisham Abbey. Speaking about some young players there, obviously there's some more experienced players come back in. Don't need to talk about backstories or whatever, or how they come back in, but obviously the influence of Natasha Mohunt and Emily Scout coming back in. What do those 2 players in particular bring? That sort of dangerous duo, aren't they?
Yeah, best mates, aren't they? Is that ironic that they both come back in at the same time, because it wasn't scheduled or anything. It's just sort of how the chips have fallen. Any squad and any team that's got Scars in it is going to be a better team. Yep. Just what she brings to the whole environment. It's just great having her around, because she's such a high quality person, and she brings a real composure and calm, as well as that high end rugby quality that she brings. And then Mo, Mo's a world class player, isn't she? She's like one of the best players in the world, and has been consistently. She thought the time was right to take a bit of time out and freshen herself up in terms of the game, and we stayed in touch, and she made an intention known a while ago. We met up, we had some lunch, had a chat. It was blatantly obvious to me that she was ready to go again, and she's been in great form in the league. You can't take the risk of leaving a player like that at home if she's ready to go again, and she clearly was. So she's got some unbelievable competition in front of her, though, because, as I say, I think Lucy Pack has been fantastic this year, and Leanne, after a tough start to the year, has been brilliant in camp with us. She's really put her hand up. We've got some real strength in depth at that position, but it's having those 2 back in. They give you quality, they give you experience, they give you composure,
leadership.
Yeah, leadership, everything you need. Great support for the other leaders in the group. You know, you add them to the leadership group, and it's a massive bonus for us.
Scotland going to be coming all guns blazing. We know that. On a reasonably confident streak, really. Obviously, got through to the World Cup and what have you. And as a squad, certainly, again, fair to say, I think you've certainly been growing. Philip Doyle started all up on Easton's carried that on. Some really very, very good and world-class players in there. How do you approach that one? Is it hit the power button, power and pace?
Yeah, we talked about them at length last night, but then we switched it to ourselves as well, because for us the focus, we generally work on a sort of 75-25 rule, where we obviously look at the opposition to see where we can get at them and where their threats are, but we want to really focus on ourselves. We've invested a lot of time into developing our game, developing the intensity we want to play with, and and how we want to play the game. And that'll be the thing that we concentrate on more than anything. But as you say, they're a really good side. They've got some great individual players. And I say this with the greatest of respect. They've got 3 or 4 players that we'd like to have in our side or in our squad for absolute sure, and that's not being disrespectful to the other players. Considering what we're afforded against the others, I think they've got themselves in a really good position. Fiercely compared, Scotland. It's going to be a tough.
Yeah.
Like I said, we play well against Scotland because we respect them massively when we go and play against them, because if you get it wrong, you're going to end up in a real scrap. So we've been pretty good the last few times we played them, but it showed last year when we played them. Last time out when we played them, we got the first out. We started fantastically well. We really went at them, and then we just lost our way a little bit, and they turned it into a real dogfight. And that's what will happen. So for us, it's making sure that we take the stuff we've been working on in training and we try and impose it onto Scotland and impose our will and our game on them. But it'll be great. They're riding the crest of a wave. They're match ready because they've only just come out of preparing for the World Cup qualifier, and they absolutely ran riot in that game. They looked like a team who were really up for it and had a lot of good structure about them. A lot of dynamic players. They've got some great pace, so they've got threats, in various places around the field that we're going to have to be aware of. But we've got a few of our own that we'll be wanting to impose on them, hopefully.
How are you, Connie Powell? Are you enjoying being a Red Rose? Got the Red Rose on your chest there, being involved in this squad. Just where are the feelings right now?
Really excited. The weather's gorgeous here today, and just had a good few weeks prep with the Red Roses. So yeah, feeling really good.
What is it like? Obviously players that you've played against, but obviously presumably watched in the past as well. What is it like being in amongst that, and somebody important saying you're good enough to be at this level?
A bit of a dream come true, really. I mean, today's like today when the weather's nice and you're here and you're training around people like you say that you've watched growing up, and actually just cracking on with it and getting involved in it is really cool.
Who's been the most supportive? People in your position or some of the more mature members of the squad, should we say?
I feel like the environment is really good. I think everybody's supportive. I couldn't name 1 or 2 people. Lark is really, really supportive of me. She helps me a lot. But actually, it's just such a good environment. The team culture is proper spot on at the minute. So yeah, you're never shy for someone to turn to.
And how keen would you be to be in that 23 or even that 15 in that opening game of Scotland at the weekend?
That would be another dream come true. It'd be amazing. So touch wood, I'm involved. But hey, we've got a big week of training first.
Joined very luckily now by Vicki Cornborough, Harlequins and Red Roses. Prop cap 65 potentially at the beginning of this Six Nations. Vicki, how are you? Lovely sunny day here at Bisham Abbey. How good is it to be in camp at the start of 2022, which is a huge year for women's rugby?
Well, I think just purely the fact that the sun is shining, it's really hot. I think it's great to be able to be out training during the day. We're just about to go into our fast day session in preparation for Scotland at the weekend. And we've been working a lot on our kind of fitness and our repeatability, which is going to be a huge part of our game plan at the weekend, about making sure that the pressure's on Scotland. So, yeah, doing that in the sun's going to be a lovely afternoon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I spoke earlier to Simon Middleton and Sarah Hunter and spoke about the autumn and just how much better this side can be. Where, personally, do you think, up front especially, where you can improve from the autumn, which was fairly impressive?
Yeah, I think being able to consistently apply that pressure. We've got a good set piece. Both our scrum and our line out is back to being an attacking weapon for us. But I think it's that consistently being able to perform across the pitch and really kind of turn that screw and be really aggressive and savage up front with our savage set piece.
How much competition is there for places? And are you feeling the pressure? That's a good pressure, I'm guessing.
Yeah, massive pressure at the moment for selection. We still don't know what that Scotland team's going to be, and everybody in camp at the moment is putting their hands up. For me personally, I love that competitive element of it, and it makes me kind of sharp as a player. Going into what could potentially be my 65th cap, I think it's really important to have people pushing you on and me pushing others on for that selection. So yeah, I'm going to give it more this afternoon and hopefully get one of the shirts for the weekend.
Well, yeah, if I was selecting, I know exactly where you'd be starting in a number 1 shirt with no letter after it. Well, the other thing I was just going to ask you was, and I suspect I know the answer, you've been around 64 caps, you're going to give a media answer, but when you've got together since the autumn, has the humongous nature of this year been spoken about, or are we talking 6 nations, are we talking just Scotland? Don't give me media, straight bad answer.
No, I think it's really important to understand where we are in our journey, and I think looking at our career and looking at cycles and looking at kind of forward to the World Cup, I think it's really important to have that kind of end goal, especially where it's it's on our doorstep now. Obviously, we've got the Six Nations, and finishing with France at the end of the competition is going to be huge for us. And looking at where we are in terms of our stats, 18 games from 18, we've levelled with England men. I think it's really important just to see how far we can push ourselves as a Red Roses team. So absolutely, we're focused 100% on this weekend, but we're very mindful of the fact that we want to be an exceptional team. Red Roses really want to push as far as they can. So if we can look at pushing forward to the best international team in the world and have consistent wins. We've talked about that as a squad, and we've not shied away from that, and we've definitely looked at the competition moving forwards. And if we can end up with that World Cup win, that's going to be amazing. But you've got to do all the hard work first, and that starts this weekend.
Speaking of hard work, if there's one area, possibly over the last couple of seasons, you might think, just probably needs to be strengthened up a little bit, is the scrum work, and it's a real noisy question being a former front rower myself. How much focus has gone into that? You spoke about France at the end of the tournament. They'll be gunning for you in that area.
I think we've been hugely lucky over the past kind of 6-7 seasons, especially within my career with England forwards coaches and the amount of time and effort they put on scrum time. And me as a front row, my first job is to deliver at scrum time, and I'm really pleased with how we're progressing as a front row and as a pack in making sure that our scrum is dominant and we can go up on that world stage and truly be kind of game changers. You have a look back to the Men's World Cup final and see how much of a scrum difference, the difference on the game it can make. It is hugely important. It's my favourite part of the game because you are never really that kind of head-to-head with somebody else. I love the competitive nature of it, and I love that kind of dominant feeling. And if we can continue to, insert our dominance over other packs, like that's the game for me, and that's where you can really build on that.
Last one, because I'm conscious you want to get focused for this afternoon session. Just how tough will Scotland be?
I think Scotland have actually had a really good run of games recently. I watched their World Cup qualifying game against Colombia as well. Having seen how they've been performing recently, I think they're on a good winning streak, and they've had a lot of time in camp together. Going away to Edinburgh is going to be no mean feat, and I think we're hugely respectful of what Scotland can bring. But for us, it's all about the Red Roses. It's all about what game plan we're going to bring and how we can pressure Scotland regardless of what they throw at us. It's how we can dominate that game and what performance we can put in, and it's all about ourselves.
I had to catch up with one of the team, head of the Red Roses team and part of the WRP team, Sarah Hunter, how are you? The curls have gone, hair's up, looking fresh. Thank you for the coffee. How's things in the sun here?
Oh, wonderful. Isn't it a lovely day? We've been longing for the sunshine. All good, yeah, enjoying being in camp. Had a lovely 4 days off, recharged the batteries, and ready to go for this week.
Brilliant. This is a question I asked Simon a moment or two ago. How nice is it? You've done the autumns, but now this is 2022. This is a massive year for women's rugby for all sorts of reasons. But obviously you've got Six Nations, Commonwealth, World Cup Sevens, but then of course the World Cup. How nice is it just to get into this, knowing there's first game of this cycle, as it were, this year, come Saturday?
Huge. Obviously the autumns were really good for us, and it was a great time. But like the start of a World Cup year is pretty special, and I don't think you can ever overlook a Six Nations tournament. The Championship is such a great competition to play in a tournament. It's exciting. We're back to its usual format, which is really good that we get to play everyone. And I think obviously this week alone, like we've seen hopefully what the weather might give us over the next few weeks, which makes playing rugby a little bit better as well.
Snow then?
No
2 years ago.
No snow. Yeah, dreading going up to Scotland after what happened last time. Still got nightmares about how cold that day was. But no, in all seriousness, it's great to get back out again. The fact that the competition has been moved into this window means that it's been a longer period without playing. Normally we get to January and like the Six Nations is round the corner, but we've had to wait a little bit longer, and it gives us probably more reflection time, a bit more planning of what we want to do come this next few weeks and where we need to move our game to. But it's certainly an exciting start of what, like I say, the rest of the year is going to bring.
We'll get to the England game plan and the game you were talking about there, but start with 6. How many of these have you done? 46 now, is it? 47?
I'm not that old. Do you know what? I read somewhere. We did some press conference stuff yesterday, and I think it was Russ Hargreaves that said like, this is my 15th year, and I was like, oh my god, like, how was it 15 years that I've been playing Six Nations? Because my first cap was against Scotland in a Six Nations game. So yeah, Six Nations is very special to me, obviously, as is playing Scotland, of going back to 2007 when I got my first cap. So yeah, very much looking forward to it, and it never gets old or tiring. Like, as excited about this tournament as I've probably been for any as well.
Where does that drive come from, Sunter?
Wanting to be better, like wanting to keep playing for my country. It's like the ultimate honour, and it's my drive and motivation to want to be part of this team. I think it's a really special team, and I think it's going on in great places and on its really really exciting journey. And the fact of playing in a World Cup in October is a motivation to be part of it and to keep helping and to contributing to the team. And I think that's what gets me up, and that's what drives me on a daily basis to be better and to be better for the team.
Well, I know the compliment's been flying your way from Simon Middleton, even himself, that the likes of you and Marley Packer totally driving things in the last week or so. The hunger is certainly there for all to see in camp. Even the big boss coming out and publicly saying it. So well done, you. Hence we haven't had you on the pod. Personally, I just take it down a notch in training, come on the pod a bit more. No, let's get to England's game plan. You said had a really, really good autumn. How much better can this side get?
I think I don't think we know how good this team can be. I think yes, we perform well in the autumn. I think we'll face bigger tests potentially over the next 8-9 months with what's coming up. So we will need to be better, and every other team will be better and will keep getting better. So you have to keep moving and improving your performance. And I think that's a great sign about this team, is that we're not happy. if we're settled and we're like, yeah, that was good, like then there's something wrong, and then that's when things will probably go wrong itself. So actually that the team's always striving to be better, and I genuinely think especially some of the younger players who don't know how good they can actually be, and that's the exciting thing about this team.
And from the outside looking in, been looking at this England squad for a fair few years, 2014 side almost picked itself 12, 18 months coming into, rather like the men in 2003. 2017, again, very consistent side, but possibly not the depth that you have now. Just how exciting is this blend? You've got the experience of Mo and Skaz coming back in, but you've got the youngsters. And someone like Ellie Kildane, who's been knocking around this morning, she's now kind of in that sort of middle bracket, but you've got the Emma Sings and people like that, Connie Powell, coming into this squad. Is that blend, it seems as a blend is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it is. Like, I guess probably for players like yourself, of myself, maybe Marley, Skaz, like Mo, like, yeah, we have that experience, but I think having like younger players coming through that are driven and motivated to want to be like part of it, want to go to a World Cup, like for me in two hands, like it drives that competition, that intensity, that part where you have to step and raise your game. Like if you don't, like someone's going to come in and take your place, but also the energy that brings, and then it's just it just rubs off on you, and you can't help go out training and want to like train really hard and like raise the standard intensity because everyone around you's doing that. And I think yes, there's always going to be competition for places, but I think this like squad at the moment, like you could put 2-3 sides out that are probably as equally competitive as one another, and I think that's a thing that hopefully will drive the team to be better, but also like it doesn't just detract from like or separate people because you've got competition with one another. It's like you go out on pitch and you train hard and you're competitors, yet you're teammates at the same time, and there's very much that feeling, and I think that shows off field, and when like you're spending time with one another, it's like as tight as it ever has been, but yet it's the most competitive it's ever been at the same time, which I think is a really great place for a squad to be in as they go into like a really big year.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I don't want the party line for this answer now, but you personally, how important is it to get the balance between and as the tour's spoken about, the first probably couple of games, still looking at a few players, that kind of stuff. How key is that balance between still developing your game and polishing your game plan, but actually continuing to win, and that winning ethos, and it becomes a habit, does it not?
Oh, absolutely, it's huge. And we've created, 18 games, something like that, unbeaten, maybe 17, and once that's gone, it's gone. You've got a long way to start again, so you do have to create that winning momentum, and that brings confidence, that makes people feel good about themselves, that probably puts you in a better place to play. So it's really important that as a team we keep that going, and like try and build on that, whilst also giving other people chances and experience and to build them, and what I think the coaches do really well, they do it but not at the detriment of the result or the performance. So it's a fine balance of putting players in that we need to give opportunities to, and try different combinations as well, because I think that's a really important thing going into a Six Nations, but probably even more importantly a World Cup. Like, you don't know what might happen like during that with availability of players, so actually having combinations that we might not have tried yet but might need to look at, I think is a really important thing to do, whilst also still being able to hopefully keep your performance at the same time. So this is obviously a prime opportunity to do that, and I think the coaches still want to understand about the players, and as they look towards the World Cup and who gets on that plane, like who might not, and everything like that. So I guess it's that fine balance of going, right, we want to give opportunities, but we want consistency because we want performance, we want results. But I think as players, it's really huge that we keep that winning momentum going, and we're under no illusion that it will be difficult. Like teams like want to come for us. Like, the more you win, the more teams want to come after you, and we're not like naive to that. So it then makes it even harder to make sure that we go out there and perform week in, week out.
I mean, you'd swim to New Zealand if need be, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I'll start now.
Look, you got training, and as lovely as it is sat here in the sun chatting with you. Just one last question: how keen are you to start the weekend against Scotland?
Everyone wants to start, don't they? I think if a player sat here and was like, "Oh no, all right, I'll be happy on the bench," then I think they might be telling you a little fib, Johnny. I would love to be start on Saturday, but ultimately I don't pick the team, unfortunately. It's not Loughborough. I'm joking. I am joking about that. But yeah, whatever team Simon picks, you've got to respect that, and and the one thing you know about it is that there'll be a reason and a rationale behind it that I guess as a teammate and as part of this squad, you respect and you learn to understand, and you deal with that in whatever way it is. But yeah, an opening Six Nations games you want to be part of, that's for sure.
I'm Marley Packer, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
Brilliant to be allowed that kind of access, Burf. Just knocking around, just grabbing players. Half the time I forgot to turn the microphone on, and we were just chin wagging and what have you. And that's why you go to these things. But there's just an air of just being incredibly comfortable with where they're at. They know the expectation, and they know that they're fully professional and all the rest of it. But they just seem to be really, really comfortable with where they're at.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, the whole squad that was selected this year, it's just beaming with talent and experience, and then you just got to look back at their results, what they did in the autumn, how well they performed and played, but also how much they left out there as well. So they've had all that time between then and now to fine tune those areas, develop a few players in certain skill elements or leadership roles within that side. So yeah, why wouldn't you be comfortable? You've got some of the best players around you playing for you. You've literally got one of the best players the best player in the world named in your squad. So that brings so much confidence. A woman called Emily Scarrett is back, which again lifts the entire squad. And yeah, you can't. They won't be sitting there thinking, "Oh, we've got this and it's going to be easy." They 100%, because they'll want to make sure that they perform every game and that they improve on an performance every game, because they're counting down the fixtures now to the World Cup. It's these are the only games that we have time to get better and be the best version that we can be leading into that World Cup, and then perform, keeping that momentum. So like you said, they understand the expectation, they understand the pressure that they are under, but they're just relishing it, and they're taking it right on board, taking it in their stride, because they want to be this team that everybody looks to. They want to be that team, and mega excited. There's so much great talent in that side, and we've seen players perform so well over the Allianz Premier 15. Again, why would you then not feel really comfortable about players that you've been playing against and around, to know now we're collectively coming together? I mean, it's scarily how good that England team is.
Yeah, and you're almost picking out three players in each position. If we look at the return of Mo Hunt, which a couple of people say it's just the energy she brings off the field. She's an absolute energizer bunny, isn't she? She could be in those adverts. Unbelievable energy to her. But you look in her position, Leanne Infante, Mo Hunt, and Lucy Packer, who's one of these standout scrum halves in the Premier 15s this season. There's three there alone. For me, selection, hard luck, grab some paracetamol, massive headaches there. The question that you heard, I put to Simon Middleton there, was that balance between continuing momentum of winning and performing well, but also getting your combinations right and getting settled. And you guys in 2014 were incredibly settled. Mm-hmm. A year going into it. That's just possibly one sort of areas. I think he said he's going to use the first 3 rounds of the Six Nations to continue to have a look at players. They're hoping to get a couple of fixes in the summer, but yeah, that's still only 7 fixes away from a World Cup opening match.
Yeah, look, I think they will have their kind of spine of their team already identified.
Yeah.
Then you're playing a few players around that, but I'd certainly think come Ireland and France, we're going to start to see the combinations that they see as their best 15. At times certain individuals get selected for certain opposition because that's the type of player that would suit that game a bit better. But you certainly want to have that consistency for a lead up of games going into the World Cup, and also being smart and using a couple of combinations where you got a few new players coming in and being involved. First Six Nations for Lucy Packer, Connie Powell, allowing them to have some experience is going to be really critical, because if there are potentials for World Cup, then you've got to get that in as well. Yep. You can't then just kind of have this team that you're banking on and then all of a sudden a couple of those key players go and you've not given them any time or experience. That would be doing the team a disservice. So getting that balance right, and maybe that's kind of how it's being spoken out in the England camp. These first 3 games, put your hand up, make a mark for yourself, and then we're going on form and we're going on what we see as best combinations, and then that gives them a nice run into the World Cup.
Opening round, Scott, we've got lots to get through, so only a brief chat from you and I really in between these. Woody, how do you see the weekend going up in Scotland? Hopefully, unless things dramatically change, no snow that was there 2 years ago.
Nobody wants to see that. Look, I think England will be too strong.
Yep.
I think Scotland have come on leaps and bounds, and they'll be ultra competitive. The likes of Jade Conkle, she plays week in, week out. She played against, England's back row, Poppy Cleall, Marley Packer, Vicky Fleetwood in a Harlequin shirt, and was unbelievable. So they have players who can do some real damage. But do I think they've got an 80-minute performance to really push England? I don't think so. And for me, it's all about the depth that England have. Whatever's 15 England put out, they've got a full bench that could have started as well and be just as good. Yeah. So that's where there'll be a big difference in that cavalry coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think it'll be tighter than we possibly think, and that'll be a credit to Scotland. I just think that they've been in Dubai for a couple of weeks, and we've already mentioned this pod, and that time together, is utterly invaluable, isn't it? But look, we've got to move on. Busy shows. That's England ticked off. Let's go to Italy now and speak to a friend of the pod, Giada Franco, who joins us from Parma. It is and it looks like an incredibly sunny good morning to Giada Franco, who joins us on the Women's Rugby Pod. Giada, how are you?
Hi, Johnny. Hi, Rachel. Quite good. I'm rehabbing my knee, but yeah, quite good. It's sunshine, so it's a lovely day.
Good. And how far out do you think you'll be? Certainly missed the first round or two, is it?
Probably. I hope I'll be fit for round 2, so the game against England here in Parma. But finger crossed, I have a couple of days to do some tests and see if all the physios and the doctors are ready to put me on field.
Talk us about the spirit in the camp, the feeling in the camp, because you come off an autumn campaign, some World Cup qualifiers with we would say over here in England with lots of credit in the bank. You played some wonderful stuff. Yeah,
definitely. We're just a little bit disappointed because we haven't had a game to the autumn till now. We had something planned against Spain in January, but obviously COVID ruined everything as always. So we're gutted for this, but we're really happy. All the girls in the team are really excited to start this campaign. It's a long time now we don't play together, so we will start in a very hostile place, obviously, in France. But everyone is excited and everyone can't wait to start.
Is there an extra sense, Giada? It's a question I'm going to ask across the board, all the teams over the next few weeks. Is there a heightened sense? There certainly is across our media world and what have you. This is an unprecedented year for women's rugby in terms of World Cups, 15 sevens, Commonwealth Games, obviously on the dawn of the Six Nations. Is there an extra edge to everything because it's a World Cup year?
Yeah, obviously, I think it is, and all the attention we're having during this time. The fact the Six Nation is apart from the men's, and there will be a World Cup, and then some big sponsor coming in. It's everything so huge, so exciting, and I think it's going to be a really special Six Nation. I'm sure of this.
Tell us then about the Italian squad, possibly some of the more regular names that we know. It seems a fairly settled squad, but possibly some of the names that some of our listeners wouldn't know about too much. Who's replacing you? Who could replace you?
Yeah, there is a really a youngster. It's called Alessandra from a team of an Italian team. There is a real good back row. She's really young. I think she's 18 or 19. But in camp, she showed loads of desire to play, and I think the youngsters that are coming through, not only in the back row, but on the front row as well, we will have some new faces, a couple of backs too. Not even if they're not involved in the first game, I'm sure they will be. Throughout the Six Nations, and it's really exciting to see how these young girls are coming always more ready than we were some years ago to the international stage. So I think we will see loads of new faces in this tournament, and I'm sure they will do a great job.
So with that in mind, Giada, obviously the last few Six Nations, you've been outstanding performance-wise as a team. What's the set target this year? What are you guys going after?
So we don't have a target in terms of place to finish off. So we're not gonna say, well, we want to win Six Nations or come second or third. Our focus now is on our performance. So obviously it's going to be a really tough start because France and England, we all know, we're not going to lie, they are on a different level. So our target will be on the first two games, probably have the best performance we can have and then build on that. So as we said before, we haven't played the game together since November. So even these first two games will be difficult for us. No, every year the first two games is always difficult. When these games are France and England, probably it's even more difficult. But we are working to put the best performance we can and build on that game by game, and then see what the results will be. Obviously, every game we will play every game to try and win it, but at the end we will look at our performance and what we can and can do better.
Yeah,
even though you said that your lack of preparation, you are definitely one of the hardest teams to ever prepare against. Every time we would be preparing for Italy, we'd be like, we just don't know what to expect for them. They could do this, they could do that. And that makes it really challenging. So I wouldn't underestimate yourselves. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how you kicked on, especially with having, like you mentioned, a few new players, younger players, and their lead into the squad, what they could really demonstrate and add to kind of that, as Johnny mentioned, you've got a fairly settled squad. Real talent within that team. It's going to be exciting to see that blend.
Yeah, I hope it will be like that. So we want to be, a little bit unpredictable and a little bit, of our style of play. I think we have quite an identity on this. So I really hope we continue to bring this. But at the same time, we know we need to make sure we do our basics right. So obviously, we have to be more consistent in our set pieces. We have to be more consistent in our kicking game, and we're working in that. So that's something we really try to focus on, and I really think there will be a good sign of this in the Six Nation already.
Great. So I just two more for me, if that's all right. How the fixtures worked well for you in terms of there's some realisation in what you said earlier on with France and England, and obviously you're going to go in and you'll be fully focused and expecting to win those games, but there's a realisation of possibly they're the sort of top of the tree. Is it nice then to play those two first, because expectations wouldn't be huge certainly outside of the camp, to get France and England out of the way and then really rip into the last three games of the tournament?
I honestly I prefer this way, because obviously when you get some high standards like France and England, and obviously I huge respect for the other four nations, so us too, obviously, but we know they're now at the moment physically and probably strategically they're a little bit better than the other four. So to have this fast start, I really do prefer, because then it's always high. It's not like, you have a game with someone is at your same level and then you go and play in France and then you come back and play same level and then you go in England. So you will start fast, you will start tough, and then you will try and maintain this level. So I personally prefer this way, to go and kick, and even when you play these teams when you're fresh, because at the start of the tournament you're not so tired, probably not so injured, and so even if you go and play there and play strong and play fast and then try to maintain the same level for the other games too.
And just finally, I mean, it's I'm not sure there's a tougher start, is there, to a Six Nations campaign away at France, foot of the Alps, take your thermals. Just how tough is it going away and playing in France?
We never beaten France in France. We
No.
did it at home, so it's really, really tough. And every time we go there, they have such a good environment, don't they? So it's a huge of spectators come in, support them, and they're playing really good rugby, I think, even if after this November. So I really think it's going to be difficult and it's going to be tough. I just think it's even more exciting. So just can't wait to see the girls play. I'm really, really sad that I can't be there, but I'm sure they will put a good show on.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Doing the rounds of social media this week is a try you created for Beatrice Rigatoni. I watched that all day long. That was early in your career. I certainly enjoyed talking over that.
That was the first time someone believed in my dummy. Never happened. So the one and only. I'm happy they've seen it.
Oh,
the
brilliant.
only time someone.
Great. So, Giada, thank you so much for joining us. Go back and enjoy the sunshine. Get that rehab done. And yeah, we really, really hope to see you certainly from the middle of the tournament onwards. But thanks so much for your time as ever.
Thank you, as always.
Brilliant to have Giada on. Number one, her English is outstanding.
Oh yes.
Absolutely outstanding. Luckily, obviously, we're going to speak about France later on in the pod, Burf, and then obviously you can get your French out, because obviously now sort of year and a half in to learning it, you're fluent. So I'm looking forward to that.
Not available for that interview, sorry.
No, we'll just have a chat about the squad in French. But look, let's focus on Italy for now. They're just growing and growing. Obviously, off the back of last weekend, the men's done a brilliant job over in Wales. And the other 20s are doing fantastically well. They did, again, a little bit kind of like France, across the board. Just seems to be a sense of things growing. You've got some real rudders in there, haven't you? You've got Baratin, Rigatoni, you've got Giada, of course, Bertoni as well, and then some 5 or 6 new caps coming in, wonderfully named Alexandra Frangipani in that list. But they just seem to be in a good place. Certainly after the autumn, would like to have got a game away. Is that their biggest challenge? A little undercooked.
Potentially, but they probably had a lot of preparation because of the qualifiers, so they probably had more time leading up into making sure that they were qualified beforehand in late last year. So they've had a lot of time together, but they've also had a lot of time to grow that confidence. They know each other really, really well, and so I'm really excited about how they're going to kick on. And like I said, when we're talking to Giada, they are really hard to plan against. You almost kind of have to remove your focus from them because they do the unexpected. They're unpredictable. I think teams and players underestimate what they can produce. And then when we see them get on the pitch and things work and come together, we're all surprised by it. But actually, it's all part of their plan. So, yeah, I think it's going to be, Giada speaks so well. And they're very, realistic about where they are as a team, what threats they're coming up against, and where they want to move to. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to move on and develop. They obviously were taken so much from those qualifiers. Their country is absolutely buzzing off the back of the men's last week. And I think they're going to be in a really good place. And I think, they're going to catch some teams unawares like they always do.
Yeah, so, France up first for them. That will be on the BBC iPlayer for viewers in the UK. That's on Sunday, 3:00. France to win that one, or is that the best time to grab France? Or is French rugby just steamrolling everything?
I think France are in a really, really, really good place. And I think
few injuries.
But I just feel like they are, like their men's, they're becoming such a strong team where previously there were areas of weakness that you could go after, whereas now their discipline's a lot better, their game management's a lot better, closing out games, and I just think that at the moment that they're on a different level. I think they're going to be one of the only teams that are going to push England this year. So do I think Italy will be able to beat them? I think, of course, anything can happen. If Italy can produce a performance that we know they're capable of, then they can. And if France don't turn up, then absolutely. But I think you're going to have to really go some to beat this French team. I think Italy will cause them problems. They've always been a bit of a bogey team for them. As Giada said, they've beaten them at home, so they'll be aware of them, and it's just whether or not they can kind of get into that physical battle and win that physical battle against them, but then also the psyche side of it as well. But I do think France will win in France. The way that they get their atmosphere, their crowds, their support, it's such a hard place to go and win. So I would back France definitely to win that game, but I think they're going to put up a really good fight.
Yes, very much agreed. Before we move into France, on this first two Women's Rugby pods this week, just to run you through Italy's fixtures. So away Sunday to France, then home, as Giada was saying, in Parma to the Red Roses, 3rd of April. Then away to Ireland, 10th of April. And then finish up the campaign at home, 23rd of April against Scotland. So those are their fixtures. France fixtures, while we're there, may as well do that. We obviously know that they're at home to Italy first round. 2 home games to start with. Ireland then travel over to France on the 2nd of April to Toulouse, Stade Ernest Vallon. What a stadium that is. Round 3... away to Scotland, away to Wales, and round 5, as we know, will be against England at home. So those are France fixtures. What did you make of their squad? We just touched on it earlier. A couple of big absentees. Safian Diaye, these are injuries. Caroline Boujard, star winger, wasn't she, in the last campaign, and Pauline Baudon.
Yeah, 3 big players for them when you think about it. kind of engine up front, thinker in the middle, and then gas on the outside. But having said that, they've got plenty of depth and they've got a lot of great talent around them. You know, Sansus potentially could be, you know, one of those people that you put in the ring for being player of the tournament.
Yep.
Always been excellent for them, so I'm sure she'll really step up. And Caroline Drouin's back in, so she's obviously going to be pivotal in that 10 position, and that's kind of where Bordeaux was kind of slotted in between. But, I mean, we don't know the extent of their injuries. We could see them feature. They could be aiming for that final game against England. But, yeah, I think, you know, building on how they played in the autumns, and, you know, they're going to be absolutely going for this Six Nations. They always a very good World Cup year in the Six Nations. You know, they've beaten us leading into 2014, 2017. And, you know, so I think, you know, you can't take your eyes off how good France are going to be this championship.
No, I agree. I just wonder what impact. You know, I was called a very, very brave chap for calling Safi Ndiaye the sort of grandmother of the squad in a previous episode some time ago. But she has that kind of. She was there in 2014 at Marcosi, the World Cup. You know, spoken to her sort of on a personal level. She is one. She's got an aura about her, hasn't she? And you know, she's in a bar and she's, you know, people around her. People gravitate towards her. Just one of that presence, and you know, and she is a big ball carrier, one of their biggest ball carriers that they have. Just that is going to be quite some loss. I think, you know, therefore the, you know, Guillaume, who is named captain, is going to have to really step up. And as you say, Drouin for me has got to take more of the reins. Just wonder, as I say, the extent of the injuries are unknown, but some big omissions to start with. But yeah, being at home for the first two rounds has got to be ideal for them.
Yeah, I mean, they thrive on being at home. You know, it does add more pressure, but the way that the city or the country get around them in their stadiums is unbelievable, and that really gives them a lift. It makes them push and play that little bit harder. The crowd get behind and can help influence decisions, and you know, I think that they'll be relishing the fact that they get to open up at home. You know, the way that the format of fixtures has failed this year is excellent. It's not an England v France opener. That's coming to the end, but yeah, I'm really excited to see them, you know, push on again. They'll be buzzing after their results against New Zealand. You know, the amount of people that spoke about how impressive. You know, we know that French rugby do their women's games extremely proud in terms of the numbers that they get in. So yeah, I think they'll be relishing in that opportunity, and they'll want to start really fast and really strong. And I think they'll want to make a statement early on about what their intent is, not just for the Six Nations, but for the big trophy at the end of the year.
Yeah, I agreed. And momentum is huge, isn't it? And as we know, you speak about the big dance at the end of the year, England, France in that pool C together with South Africa and Fiji. Yeah, it's time to start winning sort of psychological battles, or certainly starting to try and pull stuff back, isn't it, for France? Because what's that, last 7? That's bad. I should have done that research. Apologies, everyone. How many times England have beaten France in a row? But yeah, it's not happy viewing for the French. And we also get that psychological edge of the game on this podcast, because we both think it's a very, very important part. They've got to start chipping away at that, or certainly trying to regain some of that back, haven't they?
Yeah, and I don't think they're probably far off psychologically. No. You know, some of the results against England, like England have been very lucky.
Yeah.
You know, final play of the game, etc. You know, obviously the lights going out and not being able to finish the last one of the fixtures beforehand. We won't get into that, but yeah, they're not that far off, and I think England are aware of that, and they know that. So on their side of things, that psychological fit that, you know, France can take them if they're on their game, and England are slightly off. But yeah, it does make a big difference winning. But at the same time, I've been in teams and I've played against teams, you know, whether it's 7s or 15s, and sometimes when you win the game, the next one you don't, because you go into this kind of unconsciousness of, oh well, we're going to beat them because we have already. So there's that side of it that you've got to be aware of that threat from a winning point of view, and how underdogs can actually come out and actually turn that narrative around the next time round. So yeah, I think it's an exciting prospect about both teams having the momentum, but I think a lot of that will also come down to who can stay fit as well, and are we going to get the best of the two teams out in that final fixture?
Yeah, I mean, then we start to talk about strength and depth, aren't we? And yeah, I mean, you look across that French squad. We will move on. But yeah, Ménager, Dessay, Amory, Banet, Tremoulier, Vernier, just names all over the place, and huge amount of strength and depth. Okay, well, where are they going to finish then? I want your finishes for the Six Nations, please.
Already, be between England and France 1 and 2. I'm really interested to see Wales. I think we could see them finishing their best ever year. I think Scotland will struggle not because of their ability, but they've had a really difficult time and they've had a lot on. So mentally, physically, to then be able to really lift yourself for the Six Nations will be challenging. And I think Ireland is kind of like this new, reborn, revigorated. I don't know what we're going to see from them. They're very much in a similar, circumstance of preparation, etc., as beforehand. And I think Italy could be in and amongst the mix. I think Italy around third. Oh, I don't want to say it's going to come last because I'll get in trouble.
But isn't this kind of
So
sometimes?
clear, yeah.
Yeah, Crystal, we got 1 to 6 there, brilliantly down. Clip that up, pop that on social media. No, but sometimes you ask a question because you feel you might get an answer, and I was asking that because we genuinely don't know, and we don't genuinely know. Oh, they're going to be it's just going to be a dogfight, and everybody's going to be fighting for the wooden spoon. We don't know what's going to come out of Ireland. I mean, geez, the amount of fire in the belly that, as you said, that must be there. New coach, I know what a people person he is. So yeah, you think there's a kind of water under the bridge, monkey off the back, pressure off, weight off the shoulders, and away we go. Same with Wales. Spoke to Charlie Lillicrap, who should be in pod number 2 this week. Just the weight of the world looks off her shoulders. She's just a professional player now, and you can't underestimate that. Italy, consistent performance they are, and of course England, France, Scotland. I'm going to slightly disagree with you. I think they're a bit of a crest of a wave. I think they haven't been such a settled team and squad for quite some time. I think they do have some razzmatazz there. The likes of Chloe Rowley. Jay Conkle comes back into the mix. Hannah Smith is back there. So I think it's 3, 4, 5 and 6 is going to be hugely contested. And I think 1 and 2 will be hugely contested, but I don't think 1 and 2 are going to have it as easy as they think they might have against 3, 4 and 5. Now, is that clear?
Crystal.
Brilliant. Magic stuff. Burf, brilliant for pod number 1 of the week. We won't say goodbye. We'll just say we'll see you on the next pod.
Yeah. See you soon.